Discovered, how a housekeeper transformed the life of a millionaire's son in 30 days. Nathan stood on the balcony of his sprawling mansion, staring out at the perfectly manicured lawns that spread throughout his neighborhood like a pristine green carpet. The wealth around him felt suffocating, each luxury car that glided by a reminder of his father's towering legacy. Although he was the only son of a tech mogul, a golden life of privilege felt more like a gilded cage. Anxiety gnawed at him, a persistent shadow lurking in every corner of his mind. One fateful afternoon, his life would change forever. He wandered into the vast living room, where sunlight streamed through towering windows, catching glimmers of his anxiety-riddled thoughts. This was the day Rosa, the immigrant housekeeper who cleaned his home, shared a whisper of vulnerability. Among the echoes of polished hardwoods, he overheard her heart, speaking of fears. "The community center will close. Where will my children go?" Her voice trembled softly. Those words hit Nathan like a punch to the gut. The community center was far more than a building, it was a lifeline for families like Rosa's, a refuge amidst the isolation of wealth. He watched her from a distance, her hands worn yet strong, tirelessly working to create a better life for her 3 children. Her determination stirred something deep inside him, a spark that he never knew existed. As summer unfolded like the petals of a flower, so did Nathan's realizations about the stark contrasts in his world. Wealth had built walls, but Rosa's spirit had the power to break them down. He felt compelled to act, to rally the neighborhood, to fight for the center's survival. But as he contemplated this course, the weight of his father's expectations clung to him like shackles. The very elites he called friends would balk at mingling with those they deemed lesser. But could he really stand back and watch? Could he turn his back on the friendship he was beginning to forge with Rosa, a woman who carried the hopes of many? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Every idea they brainstormed ignited a fire within him. But with each proposal came the judgment from his peers, their critical eyes assessing him as if gauging his worth. The pressure to conform tightened like a vice around his chest. Despite doubt whispering in his ear, Rosa's unwavering spirit pushed him forward. He could see the faces of families lighting up, a vision that fueled his determination. Then came a moment of greatest impact, just before the event at the park. Nathan overheard his wealthy friends scoffing at the community's struggles, their laughter echoing off the walls of his privilege. A knot twisted painfully in his stomach. Could he really stand by Rosa, amidst the toxic entitlement he saw around him? Just when he thought all was lost, a stranger arrived, someone who recognized the urgency of their cause. Together, they breathed life into the fundraiser, rallying unexpected support. Nathan felt the pulse of hope surging through him. Would he find the courage to take a stand against the prejudices that had blinded him all along? With the fate of the community center hanging in the balance, Nathan was faced with a choice that could reshape his life and perhaps even his heart forever. Nathan paced anxiously in his room, his heart pounding as he stared at the neatly made bed that felt more like a prison than a comfort. The fundraiser was just days away, and the thought of standing in front of people he had grown up with, speaking passionately about something so foreign to them, terrified him. What if they laughed? What if no one showed up? He caught sight of a family photo, his father, all smiles beside him, rewarding him with lavish gifts, reinforcing a life that felt emptier with each passing day. Suddenly, he thought of Rosa's children, her hope radiating from their eyes, and the way she spoke about the community center like it was a treasure. It made him sit upright, the warmth of purpose igniting within him. He could do this. He would do this. The next morning, Nathan decided to act. He could feel the weight of hesitation melting away as he texted his friends. Once a group that seemed untouchable, now they felt like a lifeline he was reaching for. "Hey guys, I'm organizing a fundraiser for the community center. I need your support. It's important. His thumb hovered over the send button, heart racing. Would they care? Would they even respond? Within moments, his phone buzzed with replies. Some were supportive, others were laced with jokes, but one stood out. Count me in. I'll help with the promotion. It was Alex, a friend from college, who had surprised Nathan with his willingness to support a cause that seemed so beneath them. The following days blurred together, filled with planning meetings at Rosa's kitchen table. The contrast of the bustling energy in her small home with the silence of the mansion felt surreal. Nathan thrived in the atmosphere, fueled by Rosa's laughter and resolve. They worked on banners, flyers, and social media posts, each step drawing them closer together, like comrades in a silent battle against indifference. As the day of the fundraiser approached, a nagging doubt crept in. He worried if his friends would rally behind him or if they would turn their backs the moment they saw the crowd. But as he watched Rosa interact with her children, pride beaming from her like sunlight, he knew he couldn't back down. Finally, the day of the event dawned bright and clear. Nathan arrived early, heart in his throat. Vendors set up tents, families gathered, and laughter began blending with the sound of announcements. He felt small, standing amidst the hustle, but when Rosa approached him, her eyes sparkling with gratitude, everything shifted. Nathan, she said, her voice steady yet vibrant, look how many people are here because of you. This community believes in what we're doing, just as you do. Just minutes before he was set to speak, the nerves threatened to overwhelm him. But then he noticed a group of children playing with handmade crafts, all bright smiles and laughter, Rosa's children among them. He took a deep breath, letting the warmth of their joy fill him. No matter the outcome, he told himself, this is more than just a chance to save a building. It's about giving hope, creating a community. As he stepped to the microphone, the crowd blended into a sea of faces, some curious, others skeptical. But as he locked eyes with Rosa, he felt the steadiness he needed. He began, words spilling out with unexpected confidence. I want to share something important, but before he could finish, a commotion erupted near the back of the crowd. Nathan turned his head to see two influential families arguing about a parking spot, wealthy privilege on full display. The laughter faded, the atmosphere charged. The event he had dreamed of was unraveling. What would he do? Could he pull everything back together, or was this the moment it all slipped away? Nathan's heart raced as the argument grew louder, voices clashing like thunder in the bright summer air. He felt the collective eyes of the crowd shift where the tension hung, thick as fog. The laughter that had filled the venue moments before was gone, replaced by murmurs of confusion and unease. He scanned the faces of the people he had hoped would see his vision. Was this how it was going to end? With a petty squabble overshadowing the purpose he held dear? Rosa's voice broke into his thoughts. Nathan, focus. You're here to share your heart. Don't let them steal this moment. Her reassuring presence was a lifeline, anchoring him amid the chaos. Taking a deep breath, Nathan stepped away from the microphone, moving toward the noise. Each step felt heavier than the last, but he couldn't let fear grip him. He had come too far to back down now. As he approached the quarreling families, he could almost feel the energy shift, the tension radiated from them like heat. He could sense the critical turn waiting for him. Hey! Nathan called out, lifting his voice above the bickering. Everyone, let us not forget why we're all here. For a heartbeat, silence fell. Heads turned, brows furrowed, exhibiting curiosity and irritation all at once. We're here for our community, for the kids, for Rosa's center. This, he gestured to the frantic handiwork around them, is about hope and building futures, not parking spots. The murmurs softened, and eyes began to focus more on him and less on the brawl. But we're not even parked, snapped one of the wealthier individuals, arms crossed defiantly. This is ridiculous. Can't you see how we overlook the mess here? But isn't that what this day is all about? Nathan countered, steeling himself as he locked eyes with the man. Overcoming the mess for something greater? If we can come together as a community, imagine the warmth we can create. The laughter, the love. That's what matters today, not some empty argument. The crowd watched, the air thick with anticipation. Rosa stood behind him, her smile encouraging, her strength flowing into him as if reinforcing his fragile resolve. Those words ignited something in the crowd. There came a ripple of nods and murmurs, mingling with the sound of children shouting with joy, as if life outside this argument had resumed. It was time to remind them why they were here beyond their differences, beyond their wealth or status. Let us show these kids, Nathan continued, raising his voice, that this community stands as one. Who's with me? His heart pounded, and for a moment, everything hung in the balance. But then, unexpectedly, a hand shot up, a mother, maybe in her mid-30s, with a true hope in her eyes. I'm with you. Another joined, then another, voices rising together in an affirming chant. The fractions began to dissolve. Supporters united, a community awakening. As cheers rang out, Nathan felt a wave of relief wash over him. He turned to find Rosa smiling, tears glistening in her eyes. The crowd began clapping, they were back together as one. Now, let us celebrate what we can accomplish together, the future of our community. Nathan shouted, a newfound energy coursing through him. He turned back to the mic, ready to share his vision, but just as he began with renewed passion, a loud crash interrupted the moment. A vendor's tent had collapsed, sending supplies flying into the air. Nathan's stomach dropped. Could this chaos truly find a way to undo everything he had just built? Would he be able to turn this mishap into another opportunity to rally the crowd? Everything hinged on the next moment. Would he harness the community's spirit amid the chaos, or would it all come tumbling down again? As the tent crumpled to the ground, a stunned silence fell over the crowd. For a moment, all eyes were fixed on the mess, colorful banners spilling onto the grass, tables scattering like forgotten toys, and the startled faces of vendors trying to regain control. Nathan's heart sank along with the stakes of the day. Rosa's hand gripped his arm, her strength palpable. This isn't the end, she whispered, eyes gleaming with determination. You can turn this around. Her faith in him reignited a spark Nathan thought might flicker out. Okay, he murmured, willing himself to breathe, forcing his feet to move. Let us show them what we've got. He stepped forward, his voice steadier now as he approached the chaos. Listen. We can't let this ruin our day. Look at us, this is just a small setback. He gestured broadly to the crowd, a mix of perplexed expressions and hesitant nods. What if we turn this into something incredible? We can all pitch in and help. Some in the crowd started to stir, whispers rippling like water disturbed by a pebble. Really? A man called out from the back, eyebrow raised. You want us to help with this mess? Absolutely. Nathan said, feeling a surge of hope. We're not just here to enjoy ourselves, we're here to build something meaningful. So let us fix this together. Let us show the kids that we can face challenges and lift each other up. A ripple of agreement spread through the onlookers. A few people began moving toward the fallen tent, others picking up spilled merchandise. Suddenly, hands reached out, working together as families began to laugh at their own clumsiness. Nathan felt the joy rising. That's it. Let us make this part of our story. We can turn it around. Laughter mixed with the sound of busy hands, and he couldn't help but smile at the sight of neighbors, young and old, coming together. As they worked, he caught snippets of conversation. I can't believe we almost let a little tent ruin our day. Look at how fast this is coming together. The energy shifted from frustration to laughter. People were bonding over the shared effort. Through the chaos, he saw Rosa organizing the children, calling them over to help. Come and fetch supplies, little helpers. She shouted, the kids racing forward with bright eyes and giggles. Nathan felt warmth swell inside him. He joined Rosa, motioning for everyone to come closer. "All right. Let us bring out our dreams and hopes as we clean up. Talk to each other. These kids are building the future and we can be a part of it." Just like that, clumps of families sat down with one another, sharing stories, laughter, and ideas while assembling makeshift entertainment. The atmosphere transformed, the earlier tension now replaced by a spirit of camaraderie, but just as the day began to reclaim its joyous flow, Nathan overheard a sharp voice cutting through the elation, a phrase that held weight he sensed would change everything. "This is just a distraction. The real issue is still there, lurking, waiting to explode." Nathan turned, heart racing. Who had said that? And what were they talking about? He caught a glimpse of a shadowy figure on the periphery, eyes locked on him. The moment hung heavy, pulsing with unspoken tension as the cheerful chaos buzzed around him. What was the real issue? And in the midst of this unity, was there a deeper fracture waiting to surface? Nathan had a feeling he was about to find out just how fragile the peace he fought to restore could be. Nathan's heart beat louder than the cheerful chatter surrounding him. His pulse quickened as he scanned the crowd, searching for the source of the dark comment. The festive atmosphere felt fragile now, as if all it would take was one more sharp remark to shatter the hopeful spirit they had just built. Rosa stood nearby, her brow furrowed in concern. "What's wrong?" she asked, her voice soft yet urgent. That voice, Nathan replied, it sounded uneasy. Like it knows something we don't. They moved towards the edge of the gathering where a tall figure stood, arms crossed, watching the scene unfold. The man had a brooding expression, a stark contrast to the smiles all around him. He seemed at once out of place and keenly aware, as if he could see the cracks in their newfound camaraderie. "Who are you?" Nathan confronted, trying to keep his tone level. "A realista," the man replied, a hint of a smirk playing on his lips. "Your little revival here is sweet. But it won't change what's truly broken." "Broken?" Nathan's voice caught, a mix of anger and confusion. "What do you mean?" The man stepped closer, his presence imposing. "This town, this festival? It's a band-aid over a huge wound. Your camaraderie won't fix the root of the problem. And it never will." He was right, Nathan realized. There were issues looming over them, unspoken grievances and silent struggles. Not everyone could gather around the laughter, some were battling storms too loud to ignore. Nathan hesitated. "What do you want from us?" "Nothing," the man replied, shrugging. "Just watch. If you really want to help, open your eyes and see what's really happening. Start with the whispers. They always know." Before Nathan could respond, the man turned and walked away, fading into the throng of people. "Ugh, what an awful vibe," Rosa muttered. "He has no idea what he's talking about. We can't ignore it." Nathan's determination surged again. "If there's something deeper going on, we need to face it." "But how?" The festival was for fun, a distraction from frustrations, not an invitation to dive into shadows. Still, a weight began settling on Nathan's heart. He could feel the underlying currents beneath the laughter. Rosa nudged him gently. "Focus on what we can control right now. Maybe that voice can be a catalyst. If we really rally together, we might uncover some of those hidden worries people have." A flicker of hope ignited anew. "You're right. Let us break down those walls, starting with the kids. They know everything, right?" With renewed energy, Nathan grabbed a microphone, calling the crowd's attention again. "Let us gather around. I want to hear your voices, your concerns, your ideas. This is our community, and we can't let anything go unspoken." As they formed a circle, hesitant at first, people began to share their stories. One mother talked about her struggles to provide. Another man spoke of feeling unseen despite being overwhelmed by demands. They came forward, feeling a sense of safety and solidarity. Nathan listened intently, each story deeper than he had expected. He wondered if this sharing would be enough to create real change or if the pain lurking under the surface was much greater. Then, just as Nathan thought he had gathered the strength of community, a sudden shout rang out, slicing through the air. "You aren't strong enough to fight what's really coming." Eyes turned, voices quieted. The same shadowy figure from before appeared at the edge, its voice heavy with foreboding. Nathan's stomach churned at the weight of those words. What was coming? His heart raced. People around him looked frightened, and all the work they'd done to lift spirits felt like it hung in the balance. What new threat had just stepped back into their fragile peace? A hush fell over the crowd, thick as fog. Nathan stood frozen, the microphone slipping through his fingers. The shadowy figure loomed like a storm cloud. The laughter and chatter faded into a background hum, replaced by the sharp beating of Nathan's heart. "What do you mean by that?" He found his voice, though it trembled with uncertainty. The man leaned forward, his eyes piercing through the crowd. "You can share your stories, your hopes. But there's something darker lurking. Secrets buried beneath this town, waiting to surface. If you think this festival is enough to tether the storms, you're mistaken." A murmur rippled through the crowd. Some cast wary glances at each other, while others exchanged nervous whispers. "This isn't a game," the man continued. "There are real struggles here: addiction, poverty, despair hidden behind your smiles. The moment you think it's all fixed, that's when the truth bites back." What he said stung. Nathan felt anger and fear clash inside him. Did people really think everything was okay? Were they choosing to ignore their struggles? Rosa stepped forward, her voice firm. "We know that life isn't perfect. But we're trying to create change, to bring people together." The man's expression shifted, a flicker of respect mingling with doubt. "Then prove it. You claim to be a community. Step into the shadows with courage. Face the whispers of despair instead of hiding behind brightly lit tents and food stalls." Nathan felt the weight of that challenge. It wasn't just about the festival anymore, it was about peeling back layers and confronting uncomfortable truths. He took a deep breath. "You're right. We need to discuss everything that's troubling us. Let us not pretend it's all okay anymore." He turned back to the crowd. "I know many of us have burdens we carry alone. If we want to heal, we must face our pain together. Who here is ready to share what weighs on their hearts?" Cautiously, eyes began to rise. One by one, people stepped forward. A man spoke of losing his job, voice shaking. Others shared stories of family struggles, mental health battles, and unending debts. Each confession cracked the facade of their festival facade further. Tears formed in the corners of some eyes. Nathan felt the raw vulnerability in the air. The crowd slowly transformed from a tight-knit circle to an envelope of sorrow and strength. Each revelation stirred deep emotions that resonated in everyone's hearts, but then, just as Nathan felt a sense of unity beginning to blossom, another shout pierced the air, more frantic this time. "You have no idea what's coming. Don't you see? It's already here." The crowd gasped, heads turning as a young girl with wide, frightened eyes pushed through the throng. "My brother, he's in trouble. I heard him talking about ending it all." The mood shifted sharply. Panic rippled through the assembly. Nathan's throat tightened. A chill crawled down his spine. This wasn't just a rumor. It was a battle raging beneath their very feet. Rosa grasped Nathan's arm, her expression one of concern and resolution. "We need to do something, now. We can't let more lives fall apart like this." What was he going to do? How could they confront this looming darkness head-on? A wild uncertainty coursed through him, but alongside that, a fierce determination ignited. "We'll come together and face this. We have to." As he spoke, Nathan's voice grew stronger, echoing hope amidst despair. "But how?" The shadows were closing in, and time was slipping between their fingers. What could he do to truly help? The shadows swirled, and Nathan knew this was just the beginning. The air crackled with tension as the crowd shifted, uncertainty mingling with fear. Nathan's heart beat loudly in his chest, each thud echoing the weight of responsibility that seemed to settle on his shoulders. The girl's words hung heavily in the air, each syllable a call to action they could no longer ignore. "Listen," he said, trying to draw the crowd's attention back. "We've heard some stories today. Real struggles. But now, we need to focus. For that girl, for her brother. We can't let this be a moment that fades. We need to act." Rosa stood beside him, her eyes scanning the faces in the crowd. "Let us create a support group right here, right now. Who can we call? Who knows how to reach out?" A woman near the front stepped forward. "I'm a social worker. I can help connect families in crisis to resources." "Great!" Nathan exclaimed, relief flooding through him. "Anyone else?" A chorus of voices began to rise, each with their offer of support. Some had contacts in mental health, others suggested hotline numbers. One man, his hands trembling, revealed he had experience with therapy and was willing to lend his knowledge. Each voice added strength, each story crafted a web of support and network of compassion that pushed back against the darkness. But anxiety still churned deep inside Nathan. He felt the urgency. They needed more not just for the girl's brother but for everyone in pain. "Let us gather here again tomorrow," he suggested, his voice resolute. "We can form a plan. There are too many hidden battles to remain silent. We need to bring these shadows to light." Rosa squeezed his arm, grounding him. "We can organize community volunteers. It's time to turn this festival into something meaningful." As they spoke, a sense of purpose dawned across the crowd. Hope began to ripple through their worries, lighting tiny sparks in the corners of their eyes. People who once stood apart now leaned into each other, ready to stand united against their struggles. But even in that moment of unity, the girl's worried face lingered in Nathan's mind. He couldn't shake the dread that echoed from her words. What was her brother facing? This wild fear knotted in his stomach, but it ignited a fierce determination within him. He realized that pain wasn't just around them, it was woven into the fabric of their community. Suddenly, he heard a distant shout, slicing through their hope. "They're coming!" Heads turned again, voices hushed in a chorus of disbelief. A group of teenagers burst through the crowd, their expressions wild, panic painted on their faces. "There's a fight by the river." One boy yelled, breathless. "It's getting out of hand." Nathan's heart sank. The shadows were indeed closing in. Here was another crisis, one that could spiral beyond their control. The festival, meant to breathe life and connection into the community, risked tearing them apart instead. His thoughts raced. "We need to divide," he urged Rosa and the crowd. "Some of us need to go help at the river, while others stay to keep planning our support network." Rosa nodded, determination etched into her features. "We can't let fear win. We're stronger together." As the crowd shifted into action, moving with urgency fueled by the chaos around them, Nathan surveyed the scene. Heart pounding, he understood this was more than just a fight. It was a battle against what lay hidden beneath the surface of their lives, a chance to reclaim the strength of their community. But as he rushed towards the river with the gathering crowd, he had to wonder, would they be able to confront their fears and emerge united, or would this darkness unravel all their efforts? What awaited them at the river's edge could change everything. As Nathan rushed through the throngs of festival-goers, he could feel the urgency in the air, a palpable blend of fear and determination. The once joyous atmosphere shifted into something darker, the sweet melodies of celebration now drowned out by distant shouts and the rising tide of anxiety. His heart raced not just for himself but for what was at stake. Each footfall echoed with the fears of everyone around him. When they reached the riverbank, chaos unfolded before him. A group of boys, mouths twisted in anger, pushed and shoved each other. Nearby, a few girls looked on, some trying to pull friends away, while others just stood frozen in shock. The beauty of the glowing river, shimmering under the festival lights, contrasted sharply with the violence pulsating at its edge. Nathan stepped forward, raising his hands to call for calm. "Hey! Let us take a breath," he shouted, voice cutting through the chaos. The boys barely heard him, lost in their adrenaline-fueled anger. He felt Rosa at his side, her presence a grounding force amid the whirlwind. "Look, let us stand together," she urged, her voice fierce. "This isn't who we are. We want to come together, not tear each other apart." A boy turned towards them, his face flushed and wild. "You don't understand. They started it. Then let us stop it," Nathan pleaded, his eyes scanning the crowd for support. He could see others stepping forward, emboldened by their purpose, joining him on the front lines. In that moment, he knew he wasn't facing a physical fight alone. This was a clash of fears and unspoken tensions that had built up over time. From behind, a voice rose, steady and strong. "You're right. We've had enough fighting." It was one of the young men from the community, someone Nathan recognized from the neighborhood cleanups. That voice was like a beacon, encouraging others to step up. Within moments, several others jumped in, forming a united front against the growing chaos. As Nathan locked eyes with the enraged youth, he softened his voice. "Think about what we can lose if we keep this up," he said, allowing the moment to weigh heavy on them. "We're all in this together. Let us not break what we've started to rebuild." Slowly, uncertainty flickered across the faces around him. The anger began to wane, replaced by the weight of shared concern. Rosa took a step closer, her voice gentle but firm. "Your strength and courage can make a difference. We don't have to fight each other." Nathan inhaled deeply, trying to mask his own vulnerability. He knew the girl's brother was somewhere out there, possibly facing unchecked wrath and hidden struggles. What would happen if they couldn't mend this divide? And just as the tide seemed to shift, a loud crash erupted in the distance. A nearby vendor cart had toppled over, scattering candy and snacks all over the ground. The chaos erupted again, fueling the frenzy, and Nathan's heart sank. "Everyone, back off," Nathan called, raising his hands once more. "We can't let this escalate. We're here to help each other, to lift each other up, not tear down." Suddenly, a younger child, lost and looking fear-stricken, stumbled into view. The fight paused as the crowd recognized the expression of fear that many held in their hearts. Nathan's breath hitched. Here was a pure reflection of what was truly at stake, not just the fight, but the innocence that could be lost if chaos reigned. With this shift, he knew they had to channel their feelings. "Let us take a moment to breathe and come back together, for this kid and for ourselves," he said quietly, sensing the shift in energy. Would they heed the call? Would they find strength beyond their anger, or would this moment slip away into darkness? As the murmur of voices grew, Nathan clenched his fists, heart racing anew. The path ahead was fragile, but one thing was certain: this fight reflected layers deeper than any physical scuffle, and he had to look beyond the surface. And somewhere, amidst the chaos, he knew he had to find that girl's brother. What if he was here, trapped in the spiral of this confusion and pain? A dark twist loomed on the horizon as Nathan resolved to make his way deeper into the fray, but would he arrive too late? Nathan pushed through the crowd, the thrumming tension still hanging heavy in the air. Fear and confusion twisted like brambles in his chest. Every step felt significant, a deliberate choice to counter the chaos around him. He glanced back at Rosa, who held her ground, her face a mask of determination. "Stay close," he urged, cutting a path through the bodies, desperate to reach the heart of the storm. The cacophony of shouting youth and clattering cart fragments surrounded him, drowning out his thoughts. As they neared the epicenter of the chaos, he saw a figure, a boy with his back turned. He was slumped against a tree, the wild energy coursing through the crowd seemingly escaping him. Nathan's stomach dropped. Could that be the girl's brother? With each second, doubt clawed at him. Was he too late? Would this kid even listen? The noise shifted to a dull roar in his ears. He had to focus. "Hey!" Nathan shouted, rushing closer, pulling Rosa with him. "Are you all right?" The boy turned slowly, revealing tear-streaked cheeks, eyes wide and bewildered. Recognition flickered across his face, a glimmer of understanding mixed with fear. I just wanted it to stop," he stammered. "They don't get it. They think this is a game." This boy, the embodiment of innocence lost amid the turmoil, was a reminder of everything at stake. Nathan nodded, his heart aching. "I know. But fighting won't fix anything. We have to stand unified." Behind him, a ripple of voices echoed that sentiment, resonating with the ones who had joined their cause. There, a few feet away, the first boy who had pushed another now stood slack-jawed at the sight of the boy against the tree. A realization dawned across the faces of the crowd as if they were finally removing the blinders placed by anger. "Put yourself in his shoes," Nathan pressed on, his voice rising slightly. "What would you feel? If we keep this up, we risk losing everything we've worked for. Let's harness this energy and turn it into something positive." The boy nodded, a flicker of resolve igniting in his eyes. Though the storm around them hadn't fully calmed, Nathan could see the momentum shifting. Suddenly, the sound of sirens blared off in the distance, cutting through the haze like a thunderclap. The collective murmur shifted from anger to panic, uncertainty washing over the crowd. Some began to scatter, while others cursed their decision to engage in a fight that had escalated out of control. "Everyone, listen." Nathan's voice soared over the discord. "The more we separate, the easier it is for fear to spread. We didn't come here to fight, we came here to celebrate. Every moment we spend pushing each other away means another moment lost to anger that won't bring any of us joy." In those seconds, Nathan felt a recognition settle among them. One by one, faces softened, shoulders relaxed. The swirling fog around their hearts began to lift just a little, and with it, the urge to lash out faded as they began to acknowledge the truth of his words. Rosa stepped forward, her voice calm but resolute. "We're better together. Let us show everyone that we're not defined by fear but by our courage to connect, to grow." Just as hope flickered like a fragile flame, chaos erupted again. Someone noticed that a group of girls had slipped away, snatching the opportunity to gather more supporters for their side of the conflict. Anger flared once more, even as Nathan felt the raw vulnerability that had stitched this moment together. "Stay together," he shouted, but doubt crept in. This unity was precarious. Somehow, despite the simmering anger, Nathan felt a sense of purpose. They could turn the tide, they could channel their fears into strength. But as tension flared stronger than ever, Nathan couldn't shake the feeling that the real battle was still to come. What would happen when their opponents chose to escalate? Would they find the strength to stave it off, to protect that glimmer of hope he felt spreading in the air? All eyes were on him, hearts caught in the moment between fear and resilience. But as the sirens grew closer, would their collective will be enough to hold the line? The sirens pierced through the thick tension, each wail a reminder of the gravity of the situation. Nathan's heart raced, battling fear as much as the chaos before him. What lay at the edge of this confrontation? And how could they mend the fractures breaking their community apart? "Stay together," Nathan shouted again, his voice firm and resolute. He felt the collective gaze of the crowd, eyes wide with uncertainty, awaiting his next move. Every heartbeat pulsed with the weight of change they all craved. Rosa stepped closer, her expression fierce yet kind. "We can't keep letting anger dictate our actions. We can't let fear unravel everything that's begun. Just breathe." At Nathan's side, several familiar faces began to emerge from the crowd, friends he had once feared would never heed his call. With every comforting glance and nod they offered, he felt the tide shifting. The tension remained, but he saw promises reflected in their eyes. Listen. This festival was supposed to be a celebration, let us make it one. We don't have to engage in violence or hostility. Nathan's words resonated in his gut, each syllable weaving their shared vulnerability together. Let us show them how powerful we are when we unite instead of divide. The young boy from earlier, whose cheeks were still wet with tears, stepped forward. He looked unsteady but clearly affected by Nathan's assurances. I don't want my story to be about fighting, he choked out. I just want everyone to be okay. A ripple flowed through the crowd. Others were moved. Yeah, a girl near the front echoed, we came together for something better. For everyone to have hope. A wave of realization swept collectively through the gathered crowd, each shared sentiment knitting their hearts closer together. Nathan harnessed the momentum, focusing on the positive, evolving energy. Exactly. Our homes don't need to be battlefields. They should echo laughter, joy, and community. He glanced back at the shimmering surface of the river, a symbol of reflection and unyielding flow. Let South fill this place with our hopes, our dreams, not our anger. We owe that to each other. As murmurs turned to whispers of agreement, he saw resolute expressions forming among the gathered families. The cries shifted to calls for unity rather than division. There was a powerful glance exchanged between Rosa and Nathan, an understanding that they were creating something vital together. After a moment, a voice piped up from behind Nathan. Then let us sing. Let us show everyone that we are still standing. Yeah. Came a chorus, and the young girl cupped her palms around her mouth, calling out, come on, everyone. Let us lift our voices. They broke into song, each note rising with the swelling energy around them. Nathan watched as gritted teeth softened into smiles, children clapping their hands, teens embracing each other. The crowd transformed from tense onlookers to a pulsing group of warriors for harmony. Then, as if drawn by the magnetic pull of the music, the earlier fighters began to approach, cautious but curious. They observed the vibrant shift happening before them. Nathan's breath caught in his throat. This could be a defining moment. Could they truly reach those still clinging to anger? Join us. He called, extending a hand towards them. You're welcome here. Together, we can build something even stronger. Slowly, the tension in the younger boy's shoulders fell as he exchanged glances with the ones who had stood against him. The music, now a thread binding them all, rooted a newfound camaraderie. As sirens grew distant in the background, Nathan felt a swell of triumph in his chest. The once bitter division began to dissolve into a collective spirit more potent than any riot or ruckus. The energy shifted from anger to acceptance, a transformation witnessed by all. Let us stand for each other, and not against, Rosa chimed, her voice cutting through the remnants of doubt. Together we can face whatever storms lie ahead. The crowd erupted into cheers, and Nathan felt waves of relief wash over him. They wouldn't just be a festival. They would emerge as a community fortified by connection, but in that moment of hope, still, Nathan remembered the girl's brother. They couldn't lose the urgency of their mission. Not tomorrow, not ever. We can do more, he said, conviction solid in his tone. Let us take this momentum, plan together, and transform our festival into a beacon of hope for our community. One that confronts these shadows, head-on. Through music, laughter, and a fierce will, they could weave their stories into a tapestry of resilience and strength. Nathan clutched the microphone, his heart full, as warmth flooded through him. This had been the moment worth fighting for. They were reborn into something new, united, unstoppable, and unbreakable. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow on the festival, Nathan's eyes sparkled with hope. We will face everything together. Not just for you, not just for me, but for all of us. Because this community is stronger than any fear. And with that final declaration, the crowd erupted into a tapestry of voices, tangled cords of every struggle but woven into a beautiful harmony of shared dreams. Nathan lifted his arms to the sky, tears glistening in his eyes amidst the joy blooming around him. This was not just the end, it was the beginning of a new era for their community, a path paved with understanding and love. Time would reveal the challenges ahead, but in that moment, they had ignited the change they yearned for. Now, it was time for you to act. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your thumbs up makes all the difference. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this ending. And don't wait not even one more second, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Only true fans understand how vital their support is.